But because I just got permission and I'm just now getting set up and there's a lot of acorns, I'm not in a big hurry to hunt. I'm more about preparation. Normally, I would
Okay.
have liked to have gotten that done in late August and September, but timing didn't work out. But it doesn't matter
Yep.
this year because we have a lot of acorns.
Welcome to the 11th Commandment, Spook. We are in October, my friend, and we got some good things to talk about. I know you're chasing a few big bucks, and I want to pick your brain on the approach. You've sent me some pictures and some of the things that you're doing to really prepare, those areas. And so let's just jump right into it. I mean, this is getting to be an exciting time of year, my man, and I know you're getting really fired up.
Definitely. So I'm using this time because there's a couple things going on. One, in Tennessee, there's a big buck that I'm after. I've been working real hard. I just got permission. I've been working really hard on the setup, and there's a lot of acorns here this year. So
Yeah.
I'm really actually preparing for the time of the rut and even post rut.
Okay.
If he doesn't get killed. And so normally I would be really focused on hunting right now and looking at the weather and the moon and different things. But because I just got permission and I'm just now getting set up and there's a lot of acorns, I'm not in a big hurry to hunt. I'm more about preparation. Normally I would have liked to have gotten that done in late August and September, but timing didn't work out. But it doesn't matter this year because we have a lot of acorns, and I have a very small area I can hunt. And so, acorns aren't in the cards for me to hunt this particular deer. And there's a gazillion places he could be, so it's and then the buck that I'm hunting in Kansas, because they had a ton of rain this year, over double what they normally get in a year's time up to this point. Things are a lot greener and lusher, and there's a lot more browse, and the crops are out later. A lot of the farmers don't have their crops out, all the crops out yet. And so those deer are still, everybody I'm talking to in Kansas and Oklahoma saying, we're not getting pictures. We're not seeing the deer that we normally see. It's been really hot. So I'm basically doing the same thing there. I'm just keeping everything ready, make sure all the, the stand, the blind, the plot, the, buck muffin or whatever, everything's like it's supposed to be. And now they're starting to harvest corn. We do need a big frost, but I'm really just utilizing this time right now. It's just making sure the table's set and everything's ready. And then when we get into pre-rut, we'll be ready.
Love it. So I've heard you say this phrase a couple of times, getting the table set. So walk people through, like, what does that mean? I know you sent some videos and we'll try to get some of that on this podcast, but when you set the table, walk through those things that are part of that.
So it's obviously going to be different in different places according to what the property and what you can and can't do. The one in Tennessee, I went in immediately, put in a big food plot. I put several cameras up. I made mock scrapes. I put scrape ropes up. I put a pine tree in the edge of the plot for a licking branch scrape rub tree. Put a camera, back off in the weeds behind it, and just there again put my redneck stand up to. I probably will gun hunt this buck some because I'm so limited and there's a lot of people hunting the deer. If I was the only one hunting it and I had like the perfect spot, I'd probably just bow hunt him. But since this deer's being hunted by a lot of people, and I probably will gun hunt it some. So I got the redneck up for that. I got a ground blind up and brushed in. Covered with Johnson grass, and I've even put some of that grass skirting that you would use on a duck blind on it. And so that's, basically got everything ready. We planted it in the rain. It rained quite a bit that night. The food plot, everything sprouted.
Spook, when you say setting the table, I've heard you use that phrase a number of times, and I know it might vary based on scenario, but just walk through some of the things that you're doing when you're actually setting the table and preparing an area to hunt, especially this time of year.
Yeah. So obviously, according to the property you're on and the state you're in, and kind of what you're what is there for you to work on or to improve, it's going to change from spot to spot. But in Tennessee, this particular buck that I'm after, I don't have a very big piece of property. I've only got 10 acres, but it's all a crop field. And so I've gone in there and I put out a new food plot. I put out a pine tree in the edge of the plot, a scrape, rub, licking branch tree. I put out some 2 or 3 mock scrapes, several cameras, scrape rope. I planted the food plot with a flawless seed. Danny sent me some more seed, got the ground blind and the redneck up. And so just getting everything ready. I mean, I even went back Saturday morning, had to drive an hour to get there just to put a card and batteries in one of the cameras that wasn't working, and a better chair in one of the blinds, just so that when it's time
all
to go
important
hunt,
things.
yeah, just so when it's time to hunt, there's everything's ready. And I won't hunt this deer until I either get a picture of him or we get into like around Halloween and pre-rut in the first week of November. Then I'll go hunt some just to see and monitor what's going on. And I'm in a place that's right in the area where he's been seen, and a place where I could kill him that I might not actually get him on camera before I kill him. But I know he's in the area and I'm in a good enough spot that I should have a chance. And then like in Kansas, the place I'm working on there, it's been really, they've had a ton of rain. Everything's really still green. Farmers are late getting their crops out. And so we're just making sure we got the food plot. We got everything ready, the blind, the stands. With the farmer, we're going to leave some standing corn. Once all the corn's cut around there, and just the only block of corn is right where we're going to be, is left. And then that's going to help. You're talking about cutting down significantly. We know this buck's been living in one of these cornfields. We've seen him there several times. We actually don't have a picture yet. We've just seen him with our own eyeballs.
He's there.
So we know he's there. And so it's just a matter of it would be nice to get a couple of really good hard frosts to kill back the greenery, and the leaves start falling, the crops out of the field. And then that's probably all going to come together about the end of October. And then it's going to be on then and this is also, so this spot is also in a pretty awesome little funnel too. So it's also the kind of place where you could kill the deer one day without ever even having a picture or seeing him, or another one. So it's a sweet little spot. And then there's another buck that I know about that we set up on back in the summer. It's a super cool deer. He disappeared. We had him on camera several times. He had disappeared when he left to shed his velvet, and we hadn't had him back on camera. So we just keep everything primed and ready, and the camera's going, and then hopefully he'll show back up there at the same time when all the crops are out.
So I want to talk a little bit about this, and I've seen you do it, and I've got some video that we'll be able to hopefully put on here. But when you talk about putting up a rub tree and a licking branch, I know you've got a system in which you'll actually cut down a tree. So like, describe how you go through that whole process. Cause I've got a few places that here we're going to actually do that down in Florida that are kind of open food plots. And I want to create some kind of that dynamic that's, not on the wood line. So walk through how you do that whole thing.
So there's a couple of different ways you can do it, and none of them are wrong. Some guys like to just take a post, a wood post, and dig a post hole and put it in there, and you just drill a hole through it and like stick a limb with leaves through the hole, and then you got your licking branch, and that's fine if that's that's a good way to do it, and it will work. I like to cut a pine tree or a cedar tree because something about, and I think part of it, especially on a pine, just that pine sap and that smell,
Mm-hmm.
and that to a deer is just like I don't know, it feels like, I don't know what it is. They just seem to really like evergreens. And so I go try to cut me a pine tree because we got several places with volunteer pines and different places. I'll just go cut one that's about the size of my calf. And I'll dig a post hole, put it in. I'll trim the limb where the licking branch is about the right height, and put a scrape rope on it, put a scrape under it, put some flawless scent on it, and in the scrape. And it's funny, the one I sent you the video of this past week, I put that out on Thursday, and Friday afternoon, an hour before dark, I had a 2.5-year-old 8-pointer in there just wearing it out. He was all over it, and it was awesome. And so, it's fun. It's just another fun
Yep.
little tactic. Is that going to be the spot where is that tree going to make a difference for him, the big one we're after? I don't know whether it will or not. But there again, I'm trying to create a community center with as much activity, as many deer, as much sign, as much scent from the other deer
Yep.
as possible, food, just food, activity, mock scrapes, scent, scrape ropes, activity, activity, activity. And I think the more activity that's in the area, the better chance there is that he's going to come in there at some point.
No, I love it. And I'm going to be doing more of that this year, and actually using that rope idea and cutting down a few pines and digging some holes and putting them in and doing that. So when you think about, you'd mentioned earlier too about you blind, you got your redneck in there. I'm assuming that where you put that up obviously is strategic based on the food plot and how you might kill them, but based on how you could get in and out of it without really alerting the deer as much as possible.
Yeah, so I was able to put this. So this field is all grown up in weeds, like 6 foot tall. So I put the redneck in on like the side that I would need to enter from. I actually took the tractor and disc me out a trail to get in and
Love it.
out. And that's and
Yep.
so then I can get in and out from the side. I'm expecting the deer to come from one of 3 directions out of some blocks of woods. And the way that I'll be entering is none of the places that I'm really expecting him to come from. So it worked out good. And I'll be able to get up into the blind quietly and without bothering anything. And I may do this. I would love to have 3 round bales of hay to set around the blind just to help me when I'm getting down the ladder. But
Yep.
those weeds are so tall, as long as they stay up, I'm pretty well protected. And but yeah, planning the entrance in and out is very important. And so to the ground blind and I mean, there's really not even a tree. I could have put a tree stand in. So I'm really was limited to a ground blind or the redneck. And I will hunt the ground blind as much as I can. But if it's raining or anything like that, I'll be in a situation where I can sit in that redneck all day. And, we have a pretty liberal gun season, muzzleloader and rifle in Tennessee. And there's a lot of people hunting this deer. And so, I'm gonna hunt with whatever weapon is open for that season for him, just because. I mean, if it was a place where I didn't have to worry about anybody else and wasn't, maybe nobody close to me hunting, I wouldn't worry about it. I just try to bow hunt him. But here where I'm at, I'm going to hunt him however I can.
Well, look, I mean, what you've described for a deer like that in Tennessee, that's a special deer. And I don't care, if you legally shoot them with whatever means you can that is on the table and is available, then absolutely you got to do it.
And I mean, listen, I love to bow hunt.
We all do. Absolutely.
I've killed, been blessed to kill a lot of really big deer with a bow, and I love it. But at this point in my life, when I find out about a big one, I really just want to do whatever I can do to get him on the ground. And with the seasons the way they are here, and the uniqueness of this deer here in Tennessee, I'm going to hunt him with whatever's available. And but I'm excited about it. We may never see him, we may never kill him, but we're in the game. So.
Well, and that's it, man. And I love it because I can tell you're fired up about this deer. And, it's really the approach and the methodical steps that you're taking and not cutting corners, because those are the things that you've got to do. And it's no different than the deer in Kansas. So are there any differences in your setup in Kansas than what you've got in Tennessee?
So the good thing I like about the one in Kansas is, to my knowledge, there's not anybody hunting really close to me, which is awesome.
Okay. Yep.
It's hard to comprehend that, and maybe there's somebody that we don't know about, that there's anywhere that you can hunt a big deer anymore that somebody else is not hunting him. And they may be hunting him a mile or two away somewhere, but we don't know about it if there is. So
Yep.
that's nice. It allows you to really focus. And of course, I have a archery tag there for this year, so I'll be bow hunting only there. And I like this spot because there's a little neck that goes in behind a cornfield, and there's like a shelter belt and a creek bed tree line that come together right here. And there's CRP on one side and corn on one side and CRP on the other. And then there's one of the tree lines connects to like about a 15-acre pine and cedar thicket. And so it's a great funnel on top of being a great place. We went in there in that little back of that cornfield, planted a food plot. We put out a buck muffin, put out corn, put out cameras, put out a ground blind, got a stand up, and we're going to leave 2 or 3 acres of corn shielding the food plot and kind of making it just, and it's in a like kind of where 4 different sections kind of come together. So it's quite a ways from the road. So it's really secluded and quiet in here. And I really think this deer is going to gravitate to this area. I think he's going to be all over us as soon as those cornfields are picked.
Yep. Look, I mean, the thing you may not realize is no telling what you might see too. It's
Oh,
Kansas, and you're in that kind of an area and that kind of a spot. You might see another giant, and that's the beautiful thing about Kansas that time
for
of year
sure.
when you got the table set as you reference. There's no telling what you could see, brother.
Oh, I mean, I'm telling you, this is when I went in there and looked at this place for the first time, dude, I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best setups I've ever seen. I mean, potential setups, because it's one thing to have a food plot and, feed deer or cornfield or alfalfa, but when you can combine all that with a funnel and cover
Mm-hmm.
on both sides, CRP on both sides, and a big cedar thicket, and the water and the
Mm-mm-mm.
feed and a funnel,
Yeah.
man,
Come on.
yeah, yeah. I don't have to rely on drawing him to the food source. I just need him to walk through the funnel.
Spook, the thing is when you have a setup like that in Kansas, there's no telling what you might see, brother. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
especially that
Well,
time of year.
there was a 224 killed a half a mile from there last year, and this buck was running with him last year. And he's more typical. I personally haven't seen him. A friend of mine has seen him probably 10 or 12 times. And we're set up, uh, got permission to hunt a really, really nice place. And there's very, very little hunting going on there. So I'm super, this is probably the most fired up I've been over a deer that I've never even seen a picture of.
Well, I mean, when you talk about having a funnel, you talk about having crops and corn, the right
Mm-hmm.
setup, a ton of cover, all those things that you said. I mean, that's just magical when you can put it all together like that in Kansas.
Well, if you'd have told me that I was going to have a spot this year that I could hunt a 200-inch deer and it had CRP in a funnel, creek bed, shelter belts, pine and cedar thicket, cornfield on two different sides. I said, it ain't possible unless somebody set it up.
Yeah.
This is not, nobody has set this up at all. It's
Yeah.
just, that's what's there already. I mean, I
Love
could
it.
have sat there in a tree for the whole rut without anything else there and been
Correct. And
very,
you'd have been,
very excited, you know.
yep.
So to have it fixed up and everything like we do, and be able to leave, the farmer's going to leave some standing corn for me. Oh my gosh! I mean, I'm getting the shivers thinking about it.
Love it, man. You're a couple weeks away from getting to be that magical time, and
Yeah.
and your birthday being in the end of October and Halloween, and we love those Halloween bucks, my man. So let's talk about like those two places aside. We're going to talk about just October. We're going to talk about Moon.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you would recommend people start to really think about in preparing for that pre-rut, getting to the end of October, as then we'll start getting into some of the rut stuff in the next
Mm-hmm.
couple of weeks. But let's take the next 3 weeks right now. We're in the middle of October.
Mm-hmm.
What should people be looking at as far as just having some success this time of year, or doing the things necessary to have success 3 weeks from now into November?
Yeah. So I think this is a good year to, and obviously we know there'll be some people that'll kill some deer in October. They're on something really good. But from everybody I'm hearing, things are really down right now. And the two things are, you got a lot of acorns in a lot of places, and you have a lot of crops still out in a lot of places, and a lot of places are still really green. And we've had a
Yep.
lot of warm weather. So my thoughts are, use this time to get your place fixed to where it's exactly the way you like it. You know, make sure every limb's cut. You know, sneak in there in the middle of the day or while it's raining with your rubber boots and your rubber gloves, and cut you out a shooting lane, or make sure your stand's comfortable. Make sure the straps are on tight. Make sure ground blinds covered well. Whatever it is, make sure you got a comfortable chair. Whatever it is, just
Yep.
just make sure it's ready so that you don't get in there in November 1st and say, "Dang, I wish I'd have done this," or "I wish I'd have done that." Just have everything ready. I think it's a good time to go ahead and start doing your mock scrapes with your flawless scent, your scrape rope. Just get that into place. Let them get used to it. Try to get them jacked up. You know, even I'm telling you, putting antler grow on your food plot right now. If you've got
I've
an
been doing that
established
like
food
crazy.
plot, I'm telling you, it's a great time. This is the perfect time to go in there and spray your plot with antler grow. You're basically putting a liquid fertilizer on it, and it's an attractant. I'm going to be doing that, all this next week. Um, and then it's really, and then just you can do some scouting. You know, if the weather and the timing is conducive, you got some spots you'd like to check out. Try to ease in there in the middle of the day or on a rainy day, and just see if there's something. I mean, I don't. If you've got a place you really like and you're really confident in, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going in right around where it's at very much. But there's another place you want to look at. I mean, I like to use this time of year to look at for new places. I like to
Mm-hmm.
go try to ask permission from somebody that on a place that I've seen before or whatever, or heard about something, and maybe try to get something new set up. I got access to a new farm in Kansas. We're going to go look at it hopefully next week and just see what it looks like and set up a couple setups just on the chance that one of my other things don't work out.
Correct.
And know more about it for the future. We just got permission to hunt this place. It's a long story. I won't go into it, but just a friend of a friend that he doesn't hunt. It's got a nice house, nice cabin on it, and so he told us we could hunt. So we need to get in there and check it out. So it's mainly, like you said, just getting ready, make sure everything's the way you want it to be. I do think it's a good time to get started with your mock scrapes and scrape rope and licking branches and rubbing trees and all that. and kind of get those fine tuned so that you can get them done and get out of there, and so that it's ready. But it's going to be here before we know it. So you don't have much
Yep.
waiting time. And I think a lot of this stuff is going to come together at a lot of the same time, because deer will have eaten on acorns for a month. They're going to be looking for some other stuff. The rut's coming in. They're going to be moving. The crop's going to be out. We're going to have a couple of frosts. A lot of the vegetation's going to be killed down. Leaves are going to start falling. It's going to be that magical time. And so really it's just about preparation right now.
Okay. All right. Love it. So when do you start calling? When do you start banging the horns and grunting and doing all of that? Obviously, I know people, and I've done it. I've grunted a little bit right now in certain strategic scenarios. But when are you going to start getting aggressive as we get closer to the end of
Yeah.
October? Is it more of a time, or is it a weather scenario, or what other triggers that you start utilizing those
It could
tools?
be all of the above, but I don't think there's anything wrong if you're on a pretty good situation right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with having just some light antler tickling. I wouldn't get aggressive with it right now. Just
Mm-hmm.
some very moderate, just to try to get something's attention, just or create curiosity. And then like me, I'm not planning on hunting until I either get a picture or I'm getting into the end of the month. Now, when you get into the end of October, if you're in a big spot where you're gonna have to draw a buck in from, say, 200 or 300 yards away, it's a good time to start decoying. I think decoys work great, like from the 27th, 28th of October up until probably the 8th or 9th. And then once the rut's in full swing, maybe not so much. Um, and then rattling same way, during that same time period, you can get way more aggressive. The end of October and the first week of November, you can get way more aggressive with your rattling, for sure.
Well, and I've even using pictures to give you a little bit of sense of what's going on right now. I mean, believe it or not, Spook, our rut is kicking off full swing here in Central Florida on Deseret. We got
Wow.
bucks chasing, running,
Yeah.
and it just wouldn't make sense intuitive to the rest of the country, but we're about full swing right now.
Wow.
And I've got pictures of bucks fighting on camera. So to your point around, if you've got pictures of bucks sparring, you might not go super aggressive, but tickling the horns a little bit creates a little curiosity.
For sure.
And so if you get some of that intel on your cameras, that gives you a little bit of sense too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I actually got a picture this past week one night of two bucks sparring in front of the licking branch tree, the pine tree. And
Yep.
so, and so, you know, it is the buck that I want to kill. Is he going to come into that? I mean, there ain't but one way to know. He sure as heck ain't going to come into it if you don't try it. But
Correct.
I don't think as long as you sound like two deer fighting, you can hurt anything.
Correct.
And so I think it's worth a try. I don't not do. I mean, especially. I mean, there again, if let's just say that next week we get a morning where it's 28. I'd consider going that morning and tickling the horns a little bit about the time the sun starts to peek through the trees, and because I could
Yep.
see a deer being up, even though the moon might not be exactly like I like it. I might not have a picture of him yet. The food plot might not look quite the way I want it to look, but he could be around there, or another
Yep.
one could be. And so, I might would try it.
Yep.
Uh, so yeah, I don't think anybody should be scared on trying different things, especially when we're not into the peak time when we're really expecting something to happen. I think you should just go for it. Just try different things, have fun with it.
Yep. No, absolutely. And let's talk about scents.
Hmm.
Is there a trigger in which you're going to start putting those out and applying some of, I know you use flawless, but other people use other
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
but you got your licking branch and you got all that, but when are you starting to put out scent?
So I think like you can get a buck scent, just a general buck lure, a buck pea from Danny that you could go ahead and put in your scrape. And I think what happens is, a lot of these deer already know each other and already know each other's smell. But I think if you put some buck urine from a different buck in there, I think they're like, oh, something. There again, I'm just trying to create community atmosphere and some competition, curiosity, and then if getting some orbital gland scent to put on the scrape rope and the licking branch, I think is awesome. And I don't necessarily think if it smells like a deer and it's good stuff. I don't in pure. I don't think there's a bad time. Now,
Yeah.
I don't think you want to put doe and estrus urine out on the 15th of October here. Now, you might do it
Yep.
down there where you're at,
Yep.
but so it's all relative to where you're at. But wouldn't necessarily recommend it here right now. I think once you get into about the 28th or 29th of October, and especially into the 30th and 31st, then I think you could get more aggressive with the estrus doe urine all of November.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, I'm going to put in a shameless plug for Danny at Flawless, and this is by no means being paid sponsorship, anything, but I'd ordered some seed, some mineral, and some doe urine and some different scents from her. And Spook, I know you know this. This is my first time getting it from her. I mean, it came packaged, and you got to put it in the refrigerator immediately.
Yeah.
And you when you have that kind of packaging and that's the care you've got to give, the quality of that is phenomenal. Yeah. And that's why I'm so excited about it. Again, I'm not knocking other things that sit on the shelf for a while, but at the end of the day, you got to question how, I know you are, how pure and the quality of that versus you have somebody like Danny that's going through the steps that she is to bottle this and package this in the highest quality that requires it to be refrigerated. And then there's a time limit. And then you got to order new stuff if you want the highest and purest quality. So I can't wait to get that out. I'm actually putting that out this week. Yeah. And we're going to be hunting hard over this next week using it.
Well, you said it all right there. And I mean, there's nothing, if you're going to use scent, I just don't see how you can go take something off the shelf at one of these places and the time it's taken to package it, get it into the circulation in the stores and then out into use. I just don't think it's possible that it could be a good enough quality to even consider. Yeah. And the fact that you can order it from somebody that'll send it to you either cold or frozen, and you put it right in the fridge and it's fresh and it's, you can even tell when even fresh deer urine doesn't even look the same or smell the same when it's fresh as it does when it's been on any shelf. And a lot of these scents, a lot of these people that whatever they don't sell one year, they just put it back on the shelf again the next year. And I mean, urine's it's going to turn to ammonia in a short period of time, especially if it's not refrigerated. So it's just not. I mean, if you don't have a resource or an access to get it fresh like this, I wouldn't even consider using anything else. And she is going to such great lengths and pains to make sure that this is such a high quality product. I just don't see how you can, there's not going to be many companies, very few companies to match the quality of this, of Flawless.
No, look, I mean, I'm already impressed. And when I put it out, I'm going to get hopefully more and more pictures. And the goal is obviously to see more bucks. And we don't have a ton of mature bucks this year yet. There's more and more showing up. But look, if I can create a scenario where there's a little bit more competition and they're going to frequent, then it gives me a better chance of getting an arrow in one of them. So,
well, one thing I'd like to say is there's very few things in my life outside of God, family, country or not anything that anymore that besides those things that I'm more serious about than deer hunting. Why in the world would I recommend or use anything, especially a scent that I don't believe in 100%, and
Correct.
know that it's going to help. Am I telling you there's going to be a 200 come running out of the woods with his hair on fire, standing up, his eyes rolled back in his head because it's out there? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that creating part of the community, the atmosphere, the smell, the activity, this is what I like to do. And I think it helps tremendously. So, anyways, I just.
No, look, well said. And it's, you're going to change your strategy based on the community from early to pre-rut to rut to late season. And so you're going to use all the tools that you can to create that type of environment to have the highest level of success possible, no matter what part of the season. And right now, I'm with you. It makes no sense of why you wouldn't use the purest, highest quality scent if you're going to use a scent to be able to have the best opportunity to pull in and keep bucks coming back during this
Exactly.
window of
I'll
time.
give you an example. So Whiplash is this. See him sitting right here behind me.
Yep.
Whiplash
He's
was
sexy, by the way.
he was the most dominant buck in the area. Obviously, um, I set up a mock scrape the morning I killed him. Now, what I did, I had already had a pretty big tree there. There wasn't any low overhanging limbs. I actually took a screw-in step and screwed it in, and took a one of those wires like you can get if you're trying to if you just wanted to hang like something from a limb. It could be there's
Yep.
kind of stiff wire, and I took one of those and wired an evergreen limb to it. Did a mock scrape, poured out the scent under it, kind of put some on the tree. I was used quite a bit actually. So that afternoon, there's a little buck in it, 2-year old, just wearing it out. He's just all over it. Doe comes in, she's over here eating on the feed, and there's 2 or 3 trails come together. Whiplash comes in, and he's standing out there, and you can tell he's not coming in. Our deer is not going to come in. Well, he would look over there at that buck, and had that little buck have walked over there to the doe, he would have done what I'm fixing to tell you did. But he knew that was out of his, he was off limits. She was off limits, and he was just wearing out the scrape and the licking branch.
Yep.
But he's standing there witnessing everything. What he's doing too, the longer this goes on, the more comfortable he is becoming with the situation. Then I hear another buck coming. I never saw this deer. I never turned my head because I was afraid he'd see me. I know it was a buck. I could just tell by the heavy steps and the consistency, just that November buck walk. And he walks out, and he walks out, and he stops. And this little buck's over there. She's standing there in front of us 15 yards. He's over here to the right about 15 yards, looking back, just wearing it out. And in my mind, I'm picturing he's watching this. He thinks that this little buck is with her, and he's over here in this scrape wearing it out. Well, then I can hear him start walking to my left, and all of a sudden, Whiplash, just the hair stood up on his body, and his ears just laid back. And I knew right then, I said, we're fixing to kill him. His eyes rolled back in his head, and his head just dropped down, and he just waded in there sideways. It was priceless, and came right up there, and I shot him at 12 yards. But that, to me, that licking branch and scrape and the urine was just part of the uh, attraction to the spot that made everybody comfortable with being there. And just another little thing, very little. And if somebody could have said, "Oh, it didn't matter, you would have killed Bob," you might. Well, I don't know. What did it make a difference? Would it have happened had it? I don't know. I'm not confident that it would have happened. The little buck wouldn't have stayed there for so long doing what he was doing had it not been there. And so, with that being said, I think did that other deer hear him doing all that stuff and decide to come down there and see what was going on? And then when he saw the doe, he decided to walk up to her, and then that's when all of it's part of creating the activity. And I just think that's just another little trick that helps do that.
Well, absolutely. And you think about it. You and I are both huge football fans. You think about your best football teams, the teams that played the best on that day, they've got a game plan down to the detail. And it may not have been one thing. Maybe it was one or two plays that were huge, but it was a combination of things to have an amazing game plan for it all to come together. And that's
Exactly.
what you're talking about when you talk about the community. It's the game plan, it's the detail of all these little things that add up to put yourself in the best position possible. We've all
Exactly.
done it. You can go out there and you can kill a buck just showing up someday, but most times it's not that way. And
Not if
especially
you're
a
going to
big
be,
mature buck.
you know, a lot of people say, oh, well, you can't kill that many big deer. You can't do that. You can't be that consistent, blah, blah, blah. To me, that's the difference in consistency and making. I've always said luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And so the more prepared you are, just in the more detailed you have everything in place, the more opportunity you're going to have, is my opinion.
Well, here's one thing that I will say that I have observed over a lot of years with you, and that is you don't send people, you don't find a big buck and send somebody in to set it up for you and you just show up to hunt. You're doing
I can't handle it.
99% of
Yeah.
all of the work. And now you may have somebody helping you, but you're doing all of the things months ahead, weeks ahead, days, the work, because you want it a certain way. And that, I think, says a lot about the consistency in the game plan. Is you're doing the work as well. You're not just talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's very few people that know the difference. I mean, there's been a couple of times when and it's been a long time. So that I've asked somebody to do something. And then when I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a catastrophe. So I learned my lesson really quick.
Been there, done
Oh
that.
my gosh. I was like, are you kidding me? Why did I even, think that this was even like remotely going to work out? But, uh, so yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't need to go to Kansas this week to technically, but I feel like I've got to go just to look at everything and make sure there's nothing out of place. I'm going to
Yep.
drive 12 hours just to check on two or three things. I may not do anything while I'm
Yep.
there, and I may have 10 things I've got to do. I'm going to put everything in my truck that I think that I might need that could be something I need to work on. And then I'm going to, fix it. And so, but I just can't. I've got to keep. It's got to be right, or you're just leaving yourself open for a catastrophe at the moment of truth.
Well, absolutely. And look, not everybody has the ability to make trips in between, but
Yeah,
even if you don't, you can still have the same mindset and the same game plan of that when you are there, you're taking the time, you're doing the work, whether it's a check off list that you're going through these different things and you got one day to set it up. You're doing everything you can in that one day to set as many things up as you
yeah,
can. And then if you do have somebody that helps you, that you're very specific and you communicate on what you're looking for and how to do it and all of that. So again, it can be as close to what you need. So that way, if they can do it like you do it, great. If not, if you need help, you can be very clear on what
exactly.
you need somebody to do based on the right tactics and strategy.
I mean, dude, I have driven 12 hours in a night to get there the next day, work all day on setting cameras, putting up a blind, cutting shooting lanes, just checking I've driven several times I've driven up just to put batteries and a card and a camera and turn around and drive back home the next night, you know. And I'm only gone one day. I drive all night one night to get there, do what I got to do, and turn around, come home that night.
I'm gonna
And
pick on you a little bit here, brother.
yeah,
It's a new thing called cellular cameras. I'm kidding. I'm busting on you.
So admittingly, this was before cell cam days.
I'm busting on you, brother.
Yeah. Admittingly, it was before cell cam days.
I know,
And
man.
there are a couple of these times I'm referring to, I didn't have any help. I didn't have anybody
Yeah.
the landowner that I had permission from lived out of, off somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have anybody to help me. But, and cell cameras, oh my gosh. I mean, they've changed the world. If I've got 3 or 4 bucks that I know about and I've got cell cameras out, I mean, they could actually change my mind in 1 minute of what I'm doing the next day. Because if I get a picture of a deer that maybe I hadn't seen or know about in a while, and I get a picture of him and I feel like the timing's right, then wherever I was planning on going the next day, a lot of times I was just completely change and go to the other place the next day.
No,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
But the point is, the amount of effort pre-wireless cameras that you would go through to make sure that you were getting the intel and had everything set the way you wanted it is clearly part of your strategy.
Yeah. And a lot of it's got to do with timing, and that's part of what October is about, is fine-tuning anything that needs fine-tuned going into the last days of October, when things are fixing to get fun and crazy. And
Okay.
that's a big part of it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Anything else you think, you want anybody to think about this time of year? Obviously, you got moon, you got setup, you got acorns to contend with, and you have hopefully weather changes that are right on the horizon. Anything else that you think is really important to do or to avoid doing over the next 2 weeks before it gets really right?
Well, I'm probably going to forget something here. Other than just, like I said, staying on top of just making sure your everything is fine tuned to where, really, if you got a picture tomorrow, you could grab your bow and take a shower and put your camo on and go get in the stand or the
Love
blind.
it. Yep.
And then and then things I think that have a tendency to guys really have a hard time with is, don't go just to be going. If you're hunting a specific buck and it's 85 and a full moon or whatever, wait till the wind, the moon, the weather is right. Now, I hate to say that in a way that sounds like that's the way it is every time. If you've had a buck that's come in 3 afternoons in a row on a horrible moon and 85 degrees, by all means, go hunt,
Yep.
that afternoon.
Your ozonics.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, which reminds me, I got to put Velcro in my redneck so that I can use it in
You're welcome.
that redneck. Yeah, I
You're
got some.
welcome.
That's
If you
my
shoot
last
that
thing.
buck, I want partial credit for this
last
reminder.
thing I got to do. But anyway, I should have done that Saturday when I went and I forgot it. But it's just be patient. It's like I told some guys earlier today. If you just want to go hunting and you just want to shoot a deer just to get in the groove and in the mode, go to a place where you're really not, you don't think you're going to have much. If you can, if it's an opportunity, shoot a doe, put her in the freezer, for venison steaks, but just don't go to the spot where you're, your main spot,
Yep.
and and it's a good time to practice with the bow. It's a good time to get up in a stand and shoot at your 3D target and just fine tune. Try to focus on having your full camo, and you release with your glove and you release, and the same thing you'd wear when you're hunting, and just picture that buck walking up to a spot and put your 3D target at some angles and some distances where you think might be similar to what you're going to experience, and it's just, oh man, just part of the mental preparation outside of the physical prep of all the stuff that you got ready.
No, look, I love it. We just had a conversation with Mark last week around mental focus and practice, and you said preparing for a test, and we had a number of examples. And look, we talk about shooting the bow, practicing in July, August, September, and all that, but what it doesn't stop. And sometimes teams still practice during the week, during the regular season, and shooting your bow with all of your camo and all right now in October is absolutely beneficial, and you can't do enough of it. So I love the idea of you suggesting that. So then that way, if that buck shows up a week from now or 2 weeks from now, you literally pick up your bow and you go, and you're ready, you're mentally focused, you're prepared, and you can execute.
Another
Love
thing I
that.
like to do, I like to keep a little small square target in my truck. And a lot of times, dude, I will shoot 2 or 3 arrows, just set it outside the truck and shoot 2 or 3 20-yarders before I go get in the stand.
Yep.
I mean, I just think for confidence and just a couple things like that, I think that's just helps, just to, even if it's just to loosen your muscle up a little bit and just get in the flow, touching the trigger. I mean, I even think that people underestimate how important it is to even shoot your muzzleloader or your rifle a few times before you go. I mean, I think people take for granted that they think it's so easy. Well, I don't need to practice, you know. Well, it was on last year. It should be on this year. It's just been sitting in the safe all this time. You need to shoot your gun a few times. Just get in the mode of that trigger feel and just get ready. I mean, and I just think my dad, he used to be so bad in his later years about wanting me to go check his gun and make sure it's sighted in and shoot it. And he wouldn't shoot again till it was time to shoot at a deer. And then he'd miss and he'd go, I don't know what happened. I'm like, I do. You hadn't shot since last year. The last time you shooting at a deer, you need to shoot it a few times.
Yep.
Well, it went off before I was ready to. Yeah, that's because you ain't practiced any.
Yep.
And so I think that people underestimate how, just having confidence in your weapon is priceless.
Yep.
Priceless.
Yep. Love it. All right, my man, great discussion today, and we're gonna wrap it up here. And next conversation is going to be, hopefully you're seeing some pictures. People are starting to see more pictures, and we're going to get into that late October, first part of November strategy. Start talking about that, and hopefully getting some bucks on the ground. So appreciate you, man. Great discussion,
Hey,
and
enjoyed it. That's
everybody,
exciting.
we appreciate all your
Getting
support.
ready, baby.
That's it.
Be
Come on.
showtime.
I love it. All right, my man, later on.
All right. See you.